Discovery, Roger. Go for deploy.
Hey guys, here we are again. Adventure Fit Radio is back.
That was good. That is good. That is good. I'm
Trying to work on my my new intro to the show. If you've listened to more than one or two shows, you'll know that I always start with "Alrighty guys." Sound like Jim Carrey.
Good morning, Vietnam.
But trying to mix it up, trying to diversify and
do it in a different language.
Okay. Hola amigos, ¿cómo estás? Bienvenido al Adventure Fit Radio.
Bonito, tequila.
Why don't you do it in French?
Bonjour mes amis, aujourd'hui sur le podcast.
Why do you have to sound so unfun?
Parce que I'm a loser.
Oh, hey man, welcome to radio.
If I was French, I would be a dweeb.
You are a dweeb.
I'm a dweeb anyway.
And you speak English.
I'm a dweeb in any country, except for Thailand. Pretty cool over there.
Yeah. Okay, so this is
alrighty, guys.
This is Darryl Edwards, guys. Darryl is health and fitness extraordinaire from the UK. He was actually quite an interesting guy. We found out at the very end of the show, which it would have been good if we found out earlier that he was a leper. Yeah. And he has one left leg,
one leg,
and
no
right leg
with no arms,
which is really tough.
And 13 noses.
Yeah,
poor bastard.
And 20 any of our listeners out there that have leprosy, we
apologise.
We apologise for offending you because Daryl actually does not have leprosy at all.
He does have 13 noses.
Yeah. He's not a leper. He's a health and fitness guru, and he's a great bloke. He's actually travelled to 130 countries of the world, which we found out at the very end of the show.
Yeah,
it would have been great to know that a little earlier because we would have probably delved into it a little more. But he was an all-round
good guy,
ripping guy. So you guys are going to get a bunch out of the show. Before we throw to Daryl, this show is brought to you by Audible. Head to www.audible.com/ADVF and you will get one free audiobook and 30 days of the service. You'll absolutely love it, guys.
Yep.
If you want to take in more knowledge and always be upscaling your mind, basically, then you can do it with Audible. You can read a book or listen to a book while you're walking the dog. You can read a book while you're playing with your cat. You can read a book while you're building a Lego set. You can
give me three more.
Read a book while you're chopping up parsley.
Yep.
You can
2 more.
Read a book while you're playing tug of war.
Yep.
You can read a book while you're slipping down a slippery slide.
Okay.
And then
possibly one more if you want.
And then you can read a book while you're jacking off.
Okay,
that's what you wanted to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I wanted you to say that. Yeah.
It's really good. It's really good service.
When you jack off.
Head to www.audible.com/ADVF and you'll get a free audiobook in 30 days. We're also brought to you by Carve. Head to www.carve.ph/ADVF and you'll get 10 hours free with their VA service, guys. So that's anything that you want to outsource, anything that you want to get done that you don't have time to do, head to Carve. They'll help you out there. Very, very cost-effective service over in the Philippines, and you can get 10 hours free to check it out by heading to our link.
Finally.
Also, head to www.adventurefittravel.com to see what it is we do. We've got so many cool trips coming up. We've got a rewards program that we're just releasing that gets affiliate owners free travel. So if you want any more information about that, if you think you can get a gang together, you think you can get your community, you can pick your own trip, figure out where you want to go, who you want to train with, what you want to do, and then your affiliate owner or the referrer will travel for free. So it's a really good service. Everybody wins. If you want to talk to me directly about that, email doc@adventurefittravel.com. Otherwise, head to our website and check out what we do, www.adventurefittravel.com. Sorry about the jacking off joke, guys.
That was just poor taste, mate.
It has to be probably one jack off joke every
3 minutes.
Yeah. We're idiots. Let's be honest.
It's discriminatory against our female listeners.
Yeah. So do you want to do a little corny female masturbation joke, or
no? We might just well ahead of the show.
We might just leave that one for now.
Yeah, we'll leave that one now. I think. Yeah. Probably going to put us in more hot water.
Alrighty, here's the show. Alrighty, guys, we are back. Today we are talking with Darryl Edwards. before we throw over to Daryl, he's joining us from the UK. We're going to as usual. We're going to throw to as normal. We're going to throw to Tommy, but I'm not doing too well.
I'll do this next time.
I'm going to throw to Tommy for Tommy's tribute.
Alrighty, welcome aboard, Daryl. I've covered horse with no name. Don't know why. Just thought I'd do it, and I haven't actually practiced this one, so this could be interesting. See how we go. All right.
Okay.
On the first part of the journey, he was helping people with the cash. There was investment and banking and money and peeps. There was sales, trading and laughs. But then he found his love of the healthy food. Now he's a man on a mission. He tells the world that the only way to go is paleo. And Daryl, can you cook me a dish? 'Cause I've been to the desert on a horse with no name. I feel the sugar is to blame. 'Cause in the desert, you feel the glycogen pain. And when I don't eat well, there's only me to blame, Mr. Darryl. Oh, Mr. Darryl. Mr. Darryl, the fitness explorer, yeah.
Oh, that was great. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Oh, that was a really good one, Tommy. I like that a lot.
Try to get around it. Yeah. Glycogen pain.
Oh, shit. Hey, Daryl, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, cheers. Thanks so much. That was very impressive.
Hey, Daryl, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is you do?
Okay. I'll kind of go back a few years to my previous career, which was working, as a song mentioned. I worked in an area of generating cash. I worked within investment banking and as a technologist, and I was writing software, designing software to make banks lots of money. And I worked within that field for about 20 years. And whilst working there, so you can imagine I was working sort of 16 to 18 hours a day, pretty much every single day of the week. I was pretty much at the beck and call of the bank, and I was privileged to have an annual health check, very expensive health check, where they'd run through a series of blood tests, a full review of my physical and mental state. And on one occasion, I was told there were like a series of alerts based on my blood pressure was elevated. I was pre-diabetic. I was at elevated risk of cardiovascular disease. And there were this whole host of issues that were very alarming. And when I asked for some suggestions for solutions, I was just given a series of meds to take. So here's something for your cholesterol. So here's some statins. Here's something to lower your blood pressure. We can control your blood glucose with metformin, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when I asked a couple of questions, one being, well, what about the side effects? I'm quite concerned about those. I was told, don't worry about that. We'll just swap out another some more medication if we encounter any problems. And the second question was, well, how long do I have to be on these meds for? And it was like pretty much for the rest of your life. So I was like, whoa, that doesn't sound, too interesting a proposition. Is there anything else I can do? Well, you could have a look at your lifestyle, but pretty much everything you've told me is up to par with your lifestyle. So I felt I was eating healthily. I was going to the gym, a couple of times a week. I wasn't a drinker. I wasn't smoking. So the doctor couldn't really offer any suggestions, but I did have a book on my bookshelf that I hadn't read for a couple of years, or pretty much just flicked through when I bought it. But I decided to read it again, and it was the Paleo Diet by Lauren Cordain. And I remember dismissing it initially, thinking, what do I have in common with a caveman? Absolutely nothing. But there was something that resonated when I revisited the book around going back to basics, around there being a way of living that was suited to my ancestral, my ancestry, and that we were designed to eat and to move in a particular way. So that's when I embarked on lifestyle change, and I changed my diet, and I changed my approach to living and lifestyle. And I reversed all of those conditions that I mentioned, were reversed in a few short months. And my doctor was the first thing my doctor said to me when I was retested was like, "What are you taking? What have you been doing?
Give us your secret.
Who have you seen?" And I said, "Hey, I've just changed my diet," and and he was like, "Well, what are you not eating? What are you eating?" And so when he challenged me when I told him, "Okay, I've removed grains and I've removed dairy," and he's like, "You can't remove these whole food groups. You're gonna get sick. There's all going to be all these vitamin deficiencies." And I was like, "Well, hold on a second. You're telling me that I'm now healthier, far healthier than I was before. So
buy my drugs.
There's got to be something right about this approach." He did his own. To be fair to him, he started doing his own research and later started recommending a similar dietary template to some of his patients. So to be fair to him, he was interested in the evidence. And not just my experience. He was like, "Yeah, let me do some research. Do you have any research papers, Daryl?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've had a look at this myself." So that gave me some additional confidence. And I remember saying to him, "Look, if I come to you and I'm tested and anything worsens, then I'd be happy to look at alternatives. But for the moment, this is working. So, and I'm not taking any meds. I'm happy with that." So fast forwarding on. A few years later, I was always interested in getting out of banking. So it was quite poignant you playing some music at the beginning because I actually experimented with music for a while. So I had an album out in 2005.
Oh, cool.
What type of music?
And it was nominated. It was very eclectic actually. So it was like a fusion between. Be ready for this, guys. Yeah. So it was kind of a fusion between a classical, dub reggae, some electronica. It had kind of Indian and African influences as well, elements as well. So it was a real kind of melting pot of different musical forms.
So just your standard top 40, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
pretty normal stuff.
Just an orgy of genres.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's considering it was such a kind of array of different genres. It worked quite well. So it was nominated as one of the top 70 albums by Radio 1 back in 2005. Wow. Radio 1 in the UK had great reviews in the press. I had a #1 video on MTV in Latin America of all places.
Really?
Yeah.
So it was I was kind of famous for 5 minutes, and then unfortunately the record label went bust, and I lost a lot of money, and in the process I lost all the passion for what I was getting involved in.
Right.
And so that was just one step onto that pathway of like going, I need to be doing something creative. I need to get out of this. I'm just not happy where I am right now. And then the next thing that happened something else that happened in 2005 was the London bombings, the London terrorist attack. And I was unfortunately a victim of that and sitting one carriage away from an explosion at one of the underground stations.
Far out.
And that was really life-changing. Like, I felt I was going to die within a few short moments. And then when I came out of that traumatic event, I was like, my life has to change. And my perspective has to view those outwardly rather than just thinking about myself. So I started cross-training as a personal trainer, as a nutritionist. I started giving people advice. I started working kind of part-time. And then a few years after that, I realized I had to leave banking and focus on what I was doing full-time. So that's how I became the Fitness Explorer, because I started looking at different fitness paradigms and getting mentored by some great individuals. And similarly with nutrition as well. I was like, I I need to find the answer, and I have a bit of cash, so I'm just going to go to the best people in that field and try and learn as much as possible. Then I decided to branch out on my own and offer some solutions to what many of us are facing in terms of chronic lifestyle disease. So there you go. That's the that leads us to pretty much where we are today.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a question, like taking it back to when you were talking about you went to see your doctor, and then obviously gave you all your health readings, and then you came back, told him that you'd made what we would look at now as educated guys that are partially at least educated on our nutrition. Me and Tommy, this is obviously you're probably somewhat more so. We would look at it as you made really good decisions, but the doctor kind of disregarded them, and now for me it's like it's very clear to see that's a good decision. But even a doctor, like, do you think what's the medical field like in the UK? Because is it the same as a lot of other places in the world where your doctors don't know diddly squat about diets and nutrition, really?
It's kind of
because
prescribed drugs. And
it's like it's such a glaring hole and a weakness in. They have to know everything about everything. So don't get me wrong, doctors obviously are amazing, but I mean, is that what it's like in the UK as well? Is it kind of hard to win there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. I mean, as you know, they receive very little, if any, nutrition tuition at medical school. And it's the same with physical activity as well. So they receive no advice around physical activity and nutrition and the benefits of lifestyle change when it comes to improving your health. So they can give you the one-liners, like, get more exercise, improve your diet, get some more sleep. They can give you those one-line suggestions, but they can't go any further than that.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I mean, I remember when I had this conversation with my doctor, if I hadn't been more concerned about the side effects, I've just never liked taking meds of any description. I've never liked taking painkillers. I'd rather just kind of like try and tough it out.
Sure.
So I've always been that type of guy.
Yeah.
Because I've always been like, I reckon I'm the one that'll have a problem. Do you know what I mean? I'm the one in the small print that will probably, suffer from taking, ibuprofen or whatever. So I'm like, nah, I'd rather not do it. And that's probably the only reason why I was so insistent on trying to look at lifestyle change. And so my doctor was like, he said, oh, this is pretty much genetic. There's diabetes in your family, there's high blood pressure in your family, you've got a stressful job. So I'm like, okay, you're telling me that my stressful job is contributing to my blood pressure. So there is something I can do rather than just taking meds. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, I'm not sure what. I don't want to quit my job, but obviously the stress is a big part of my blood pressure issue.
That's right.
With the cardiovascular risk, I didn't know what the causes were, but when he told me, your cholesterol profile is kind of skewed, I was like, well, I've been told conventionally that diet is one of the root causes of this cholesterol problem. So I'm like, okay, there has to be something I can do with my diet. And at that time, I thought going low fat, ultra low fat was the way to address that. Now I realize that isn't the case.
That's what everybody in the Western world was drilled into their heads basically for 20 years.
That expression really should be, I'm looking a bit carbohydrate today.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't want to...
false advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I kind of empathize with doctors on the one hand because they have such a difficult job in a limited amount of time of seeing a patient, and usually patients, and I've been that way myself, whereby I remember going to my doctor with and demanding, I've got a chest infection, I want to have antibiotics, and my doctor would say, look, Mr. Edwards, this is a viral infection, so it's probably not going to do any good at all. And I was like, yeah, but I just want something. Do you know what I mean? Just give me a prescription to make me feel better.
Yeah, give me a placebo.
And again, more for me. Exactly. So just give me something because I'll feel better. And so I know that doctors are very quick to reach for their prescription pad, not just because of what they're taught, but also because of what patients expect.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think the good news is the good news is, fast forwarding 2016, is there are a lot more doctors now who are on a similar pathway in terms of finding out more about nutrition and finding out more about lifestyle choices that do have a direct bearing on their patient's health in terms of health prevention. So I think we're a long way off, the holy grail of this. But I do believe more and more doctors will probably say to their patients, well, hey, hold on a second. Have you tried, really tried improving your diet? And have you really tried questioning, your for sugar and the fact that you're set?
I think it's funny. I think it's funny that it's the buck stops with the doctor. You've got this problem wrong with you. You've got this problem wrong with you. You've got this problem wrong with you. So the path leads to your GP, and your GP goes, all right, okay, the way that we fix this is I write a script and you go and get drugs. Whereas, it's never really I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but it's never that the doctor says, okay, in this case, I'm going to refer you to a dietitian. I'm going to refer you to my personal trainer or my strength and conditioning guy who's going to help you build lean fat to bring down your lean muscle to bring down your body fat. There's no further help. It's like the doctors.
But don't doctors get a certain percentage of money from the drugs they prescribe?
I'm not sure.
Without being too, they just do it for the money.
Without dissing doctors too much.
Yeah. All doctors suck.
Yeah. All doctors go on strike after the podcast.
Right,
I think this problem, in the UK, we have a different health service to yourselves in Australia and also in the US. So there's a bit of a barrier between the drug companies and the doctors, because the NHS as a national kind of infrastructure for health are responsible for the drugs that they can buy. So the NHS nationally agree, we can supply this, we can't supply that. So the drug companies don't have direct access to doctors.
Right.
Doctors don't have a series of meds that they can choose from, and a pharmaceutical can bend their arm and go, you have to prescribe this because if you do, you'll get some backhanders from me.
All right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
This is the way it should
so
be.
I just I think the problem is, if there's any monetary influence, if doctors are being bribed, sent to conferences to learn more about this drug, which includes 5-star hotels for you and your family and first-class flights, then you may compromise your integrity when it comes to what's best for my patient.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
right.
So I think, but I think the problem is, by and large, if medical school teaches you, here's the disease, here's the disease state, these are the symptoms. These drugs suppress the symptoms. If that's what you're pretty much taught for 7 years plus, that's your state of addressing the problem.
Yeah.
Then that's it's a bit like if you have a computer. Going back to my computer background, you have a computer, and if you're always taught, if you have any problems at all, just reboot your machine.
Yeah.
If that that's the solution. Just if you have a problem, just reboot it.
Yeah, that's
rather
right.
than going, hold on a second. I can actually remove some of the applications that I don't need anymore. I can reorganize the hard drive.
Definitely.
I can run a virus checker. If you start looking at prevention rather than these symptomatic cures, then you have a much better operating environment for your machine, and it's the same for the human being.
Yeah.
If you start
That's a
looking
good
at prevention,
good analogy,
rather than then you start having a better operating environment for yourself as a human being.
But also,
so I think doctors. Yeah.
Well, I just reckon that, people these days are also quite almost fearful to realise that it's all their issue. It's kind of like they're almost in denial about, hey, this is actually my fault. They're more than happy, just in my experience in the gym world, they're more than happy to go, my blood pressure's up because of I have a genetic thing or this and that, as opposed to going, actually, the reason why I'm unhealthy is because I have a very poor lifestyle, And it's very hard. It's very hard to wake up to that sometimes.
Yeah, I think we've got to have some. I think a lot of us who share this drive for improving our health, we take ownership, and I think that's really important that we do have to take ownership. But at the same time, these, whether it's big pharma or big food or the environment around us, everything is kind of set up in some respects for us to fail. Do you know what I mean? Like. Everything's set up around convenience. everything is set up around, saving ourselves time and hard labor. It's like, don't do any housework anymore because you can now get these robotic machines to do it for you. Don't walk to work because, why would you when you can drive, when you can take public transport, which will probably come to your front door in some years in the future and take you right to your desk. On a hover device.
Trying to buy ourselves an extra 13 minutes on the couch that we need. We need that extra 13 minutes in front of the TV, like just scraping any sort of active activity out of our lives and replacing it with sedentary shit, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's not just our fault. It's also we're a predatory environment, and the 21st century environment is. It's built upon convenience, on these foods that are high calorie, high energy, low nutrient density foods. We're surrounded by these boxes, whether it's our home, whether it's the gym, even whether it's our cars, whereby we rarely have access to nature. So there are so many issues with the 21st century, and so if you go back. Centuries and centuries ago, if you go back to the father or the godfather of modern medicine, Hippocrates, they used to write prescriptions for lifestyle change.
Right.
I mean, they literally used to say, you've got such and such, you've got mental health issue, you need to start going for a walk. You need to start walking your troubles away. You've got this issue, you need to start eating, a particular diet, and you need to start exercising in a particular way. So they used to write lifestyle prescriptions, and I would hope that one day that's what doctors will start doing, and whether it's doctors or whether it's nutritionists or dietitians or personal trainers, there has to be a stage where you start going, okay, I can give you these solutions now, but you really need to take this away with you and make this part of your life.
Exactly.
Don't have a dependence on me as a trainer or as a coach. Just take this advice and go, thank you so much for your expertise. Now I know what to do. I can run with this.
Yeah.
So that has to be the way forward, because otherwise we're constantly going to be seeking for expertise and never going, as you say, never going like, actually, the buck stops with me. I'm the one that's sitting in my couch for 12 hours a day. No one's forcing me to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, this is the this is the. So I'm a CrossFit coach, and obviously personal training comes into that as well. And Bill's done the same thing for years. And I don't know about you, Bill, but for me, I've often thought about this sort of stuff. I mean, one of my clients right now, we always have this discussion about, I quote unquote, this is him saying, I should do this more, and I feel like I'm getting back into it now, and all this sort of stuff. And it's just, I know that you're not doing this, and you're still eating what you think you shouldn't be, and it's not part of his lifestyle at all. And it's almost as if I feel that some people just don't want to have that responsibility because they're very. I believe it comes back down to fear, and it's a thing of fearing that they if
might
actually
not
did it, they would fail at it.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
They might not get to where they want to get to, even if they tried.
If they tried, yep.
Yeah,
how much of that do you think?
I mean, that's a great point.
Yeah. There must be. There's so much emotion attached to the way the habits people have, and especially with food. Do you find that a lot with the people that you deal with, Daryl, in your walk of life?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fantastic point, and there is something called the locus of control in psychology, which can either be internal or external. And if you're a person who relies on external locus of control, then you rely on other people and you rely more on your environment to dictate how you should manage change. And so if I know I need to exercise to improve my health and I have a personal trainer and I say, you know what, the only time I can really work on this is with my 30 minutes or 60 minutes with my personal trainer, and that's about it. And you almost go, I don't need to be responsible for anything else that I do.
Yeah.
And if I could see my personal trainer 24/7, then everything would be perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
If he or she was sitting on my shoulder, then it will all be good.
Yeah.
But there are some people who who have this kind of internal locus of control. And I think as coaches and as doctors or any health professional, we need to start learning how to transition our clients that way. And I'm not saying it's easy. And sometimes there are clients who, I've had to fire some of my clients actually. Unfortunately, only one or two of them in all of my time. But I've literally had to say to my clients, like, you're just you're really not getting this, and I don't mind. Obviously, I'm happy for you to pay me, but, there has to be something mutually rewarding and beneficial from this relationship.
Right, yeah.
And if I'm not, do you know what I mean? If I feel as if you're just like dragging your heels whenever you see me and you're just not interested really in making this change, you just want to pay some money and absolve yourself of responsibility, I'm like, no, I can't. Do you know what I mean? There's got to be a point where you say,
it does.
Yeah,
day down, and you have the ability to work with people, and you can choose. I'm sure that you wouldn't be scratching for clients, so you want to obviously choose the clients that bring you the best joy in your work, and that's people that want to put in. And as sad as it is, it's not letting those people down and pushing them away. It's because they're not going to get there with you anyway.
That's right.
It's just because it's an internal thing. It's just they're not going to change. But that's interesting. So why don't we switch it up a bit, Daryl? Why don't you tell us about Primal Play and what it is that you actually do?
Okay, so I going back again to fitness. So I was an early adopter, for example, with CrossFit.
Yep.
Back, this is probably like 2003-04, and I got into
old school
old school CrossFit, and I got into something into a gym called Jim Jones, who was they were like pretty much number 2, the second influence on CrossFit back in the day with Mark Twight, I got very much into this whole approach around being capable and fit for everything, and this kind of multimodality approach to fitness, and that your fitness should actually be about what you want to do with your life, not just about your performance in the gym. So I got into that in a big way, and I thrived within that environment. I was very competitive. I liked seeing my name on the leaderboard. I was smashing lots of the wads, and I really enjoyed that environment. But it got to a stage for me where there were times where I felt I didn't feel that great on the journey. I didn't feel that great necessarily training. I felt great right at the end. So when I could post a great time, when I saw progress, that was great. When when I could end my workout and look at everyone else still completing it and going, "Oh, you still haven't finished yet, guys." So there was a little bit of ego there,
right.
and I was ultra competitive. But then I started getting injured on a regular basis, and then I started, spending significant time not being able to move, which is also a bit of a downer. But I remember when I started getting quite a few clients, one-to-one clients, some of my clients were like canceling last minute. With some of the most ridiculous excuses. They'd be watching the clock throughout my sessions going, when are we going to finish? It's like, it's only 10 minutes of that, mate.
Mm-hmm.
We've still got 50 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm recognizing that the fun element, there was no fun with what I was doing back then.
Yeah.
And for some of my clients, they couldn't really get on board with this. And I started to feel as if I was clock watching and I couldn't wait for the session to finish. And I found I couldn't motivate myself anymore. Mm-hmm. So I started to lose motivation for my own workout regimen. So I started thinking about what I enjoyed as a kid, before I started exercising, in quotes, when I was just like very active, very flexible, very strong, very capable as a youngster. What was that about? And play was a huge part of that. And so I started to think about more playful movements. I started to dabble in things like parkour, and I started spending more times outdoors and climbing trees and having kind of more fun. But I still wanted to make sure there was a training conditioning effect. I didn't want to water or dilute my training just to have fun. So I came up with Primal Play, just spent kind of several years working on, and the Primal being this kind of instinctive movements that we were designed to do, almost like the kind of paleoization of fitness, so to speak. And then the second was the play aspect, which is like, if you're having fun, then you're enjoying the entire process as well as the outcome.
Yeah.
So I now travel the world speaking and teaching, running workshops on Primal Play. And I have some activities that really can test, the strongest of individuals, and the fastest of individuals and the fittest of individuals, even though it's in this kind of wrapper of play.
Okay.
So so that now I realize what the end goal for me was in terms of fitness. It was like I was meant to go through all of those different pathways, have all those different mentors and influences and inspirations to go, right, this is what I need. This is what I was here to create. And this is my unique proposition.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I'm fitter and stronger now than ever before. So I'm like, this has been the proof of concept for me.
Yeah.
It's getting this far.
Hey guys, just a quick word from our sponsors via me. So you can think of me as the middleman, essentially, the man between two ferns.
Between two ferns?
What
the fuck does that mean?
The guy that sort of just, the delivery man.
Right, delivery man.
Delivery man, yeah. I'm just going to let you know about a couple of things. So I was born in a suburb southeast of Melbourne, which is located down. Okay, sorry. All right, so I was not born there actually, but anyway, I'm going to talk about Audible. So Audible, guys, is an iPhone application and website you can use to listen to your favorite books while you're moving around, while you're walking the dog, as Bill says. It's got a ton of selections to choose from. How many books does it have? It's got millions.
I think they've got over 250,000.
Okay, not millions.
I don't have the stats in front of me.
Yeah,
they've got it. Every book worth reading, they've got it
up there
basically.
for sure. Yeah, it's fantastic, and more often than not, it's actually read by the authors themselves, so they get some royalties out of it as well, which is really good. It's a lot cheaper than obviously buying the hardcover, and it's fantastic, guys. I use it. It's probably my favorite app. I use it all the time. I know Bill uses it all the time. He's the one that actually got me into it. It's truly fantastic, guys. So if you're not much of a reader, but you wish you were able to read, this could be the app for you. So head to www.audible.com/ADVF to get one free book per. That's it. You were going to say one free book when you sign up. We are also sponsored by Carve, guys. Carve is I was about to say wealth creation service. Carve is basically, guys.
A VA service?
There you go. That's what it is. It's about 4 a.m. in the morning here, guys. Carve is a VA service, and we're at 4 a.m. and it's 12:15. It's a VA service.
In the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day. I've got no excuse. It's a VA service, guys. Basically allows you to get your time back for doing the projects and the nitty-gritties, you're starting up businesses, all that stuff that you don't really want to do, but you obviously have to do. So you can outsource that work to virtual assistants overseas. We get ours in the Philippines, obviously where Carve is from, and it's really probably one more really good for us. So, guys, if that sounds like something you want to do, head to www.carve.ph/ADVF, and you will get 10 free hours on any project when you sign up. Here's the show.
So what's an example of? Tell us an example of what you would do. Say you're going through a Primal Play session and you're using those paleo-inspired movements of the body. Like give us a tangible example of like a workout for a day.
Okay, so one example would be movements that are really practical, sort of beyond function. So I have one drill which is like a tug of war. One person versus the other. We'll hold ourselves in a kind of a buddy grip. So like, a Stallone in cliffhanger type of grip, if you know what I mean.
I like it. I like it. I'm picturing it now.
Yeah, you're picturing it now. Yeah. So you're grabbing each other on the forearm with a good grip, and you basically do a tug of war. And within a few seconds, you can get to kind of maximal strength pulling against your partner. And those are the kind of drills that I focus on. You become far more aware of what your body's capable of. You recognize that life isn't fair. You know, you might have somebody who's twice the size of you as you are, you know, a different sex, like twice the height as you, but you just still have to give it everything you've got. So that would be one activity that I embark on. Something like testing your speed and your precision and accuracy would be Primal play tag. So I have a version of tag which is fairly close quartered, almost like a martial arts drill, and your goal is to tag somebody between the hip and the knee, and you play simultaneousand you'll realize very quickly.
I'll play this game. I'll play this game.
Yeah,
I think I played this game, but I was nude at the time.
watch out for the crown jewels, yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's what they were tagging.
That's where you go. You're supposed to go for the crown jewels.
That was great when we played that for 6 hours that last Saturday.
Yeah,
that was really good.
We're on the show now, mate.
Sorry, Daryl. Continue on.
Tag the balls.
Yeah. So yes.
Go on, Daryl.
So yeah, there were just these kind of activities that you can really kind of fine tune your ability to really think about movements, and they're analogous with life itself. So some of them are inspired by games you'd play as a kid, and others are inspired by, again, what you're trying to achieve from fitness. So this really engagement and mindfulness around how you move. You're really thinking about and really in the moment when it comes to your movement practice. And so if I'm lifting a weight, for example, the more unstable that weight is, probably the more benefit there is to the body. You know, the stabilizers are kicking in. You know, you're having to constantly adjust your stance and your position to carry that load. So if I'm doing, you know, if I'm doing a fireman carry, for example, that's far more less stable than, say, you know, holding an Olympic bar with weight equally distributed at either end. You know, or even a sack of potatoes, for example. You know, or a sandbag. You know, a human being's going to be even less stable than any of those other objects. So that would be my lifting, you know, would be getting somebody from the ground, fireman carrying them and running, you know, 100 meters with that person on my shoulder. And if I want to scale it, I'll carry 2 people. Do you know what I mean? If I really want to scale it, I'll carry 3. So these are just some ideas whereby you can take the basic concepts and principles of, say, you know, Olympic lifting, or, you know, playing a game like tag, or doing a strongman, like, you know, Highland Games event, like a tug of war, and making those far more accessible and practical without needing any equipment. There's lots of examples on my website, primalplay.com. But yeah, I just wanted to create these games that are highly interactive, where you're actually being tactile with another human being. As I say, the inspirations come from everything from martial arts to dance to, you know, Olympic lifting, to childhood games, all packaged up into Primal play, some parkour, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it's one of those things where sometimes it's difficult to talk about. It's much better to take part in, you know what I mean? To actually start.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So I read on your website that it mentions a lot about the fact that the first thing it says is you inspired this methodology. You developed this methodology to inspire children. So how much of it is really driven by the fact that you're trying to get kids excited? Is one of your driving factors the fact that you're trying to get into the minds of these kids and program the idea that exercise is fun, so then they can carry on to their life, and they know they look back with a smile when it comes to exercise? Is that part of what you're trying to do here? Because that's what I'm reading, kind of between the lines, I feel.
Yeah. So I mean, 2 things there. One is, I think we're all children at heart, but as adults we suppress that drive as much as possible. You know, we have to become conventional. We have to become, you know, less childlike and more adult-like. And so fun becomes, you know, drinking, or, do you know what I mean? That's what our fun becomes, rather than just
debauchery.
Debauchery, rather than just pure the pleasure that you would have as a child, whereby you don't really need much to stimulate you and to have fun. And so, I do want to inspire children, because children are less active than ever before, just like adults are, to be honest. So children suffer from this the most, because during their formative years, when they should be learning how to, address their balance, and they should be learning, coordination and how to manage their body weight and how to interact with others and to manage risk and to learn how to climb trees and all those activities that most of us did as kids, they're completely written out of their history. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no, you're not going to climb a tree because it's dangerous. No, you're not going to play outside. You're going to play on your iPad in the front room while I can see you. No, you're not going to do this. No, you're not going to do that. And so you've got these kids growing up now with no hand-eye coordination, who only participate in activity if they say good at sport. But if you're not, forget about it. And then those kids don't generate this habit and love for movement that we all had. Even if you hate exercise, you probably at one point loved playing. You loved running,
absolutely,
playing tag. So we've all had that love affair with exercise at some point. But kids aren't.
It's one of the most primal things, really.
It is the most primal thing.
Sorry to cut you off, but I think it is like you don't learn as a child how to have fun. The first thing you do is you learn how to walk, you learn how to talk, and then you learn how to play.
Squat. Yeah, that's right.
It's pre-programmed, you know. So
exactly.
It's funny that you mentioned it about us all being big kids, because I don't coach at all anymore. I haven't for a couple of years, but did a lot of coaching, and I was famous for Friday mornings for doing a wacky warm-up, always really, and we would have a warm-up that would carry on throughout the day, and I would work the Friday morning, so I would do for the Friday morning session, and my workout would be carried on for the other coaches, and I'd just make them as ridiculous as possible.
Yeah.
Wheelbarrow carries and interpretive dance and
tag the jewels.
Tag the dick, tag the dick. We play tag the dick.
It was mixed teams as well. So.
It was. I'd play with. I'd get all the girls in the group, and I'd play with tag my dick. But in all seriousness, but you realise that 100%. Adults are just the same as kids. Yeah. The laughter and joy and childishness on the adults is the exact same level.
Yeah.
You just don't actually get the chance to do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's, the opportunity. There's a difference between being childish and being childlike, and that's what being childlike is what you're aiming for. It's like that their appreciation for life and their zest for life and their passion for life is what you're trying to recapture. And so it doesn't take them, it can take them a second or two to just can be completely in laughter when they're exercising, or actually they don't even exercise, they move and they play. Yeah. And as you say, when you were doing those wacky workouts, that's what you saw happen with the adults. They were like, oh my goodness, this is so much fun, and we're laughing and we're having quite a high intensity warm up. But it doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. And so that's what more of us need to experience. There's a time for hard work. Don't get me wrong. You can't just go through your life rolling in the hay. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you got to put in the hard work. But for many people, they would prefer to be sitting on their couch doing nothing. And even for myself sometimes, I'm like,
'cause it's easy. I
only train because I know it's so beneficial for my health. I can't say I used to do it because, and I knew it would make me look better in the mirror, and I knew I'd look good on the beach if I took my t-shirt off. Those are the motivations for me doing so. But I mean, I used to think to myself, well, hold on a second. If I don't have to go on the beach, if no one ever saw me, if no one ever saw the results of my workouts, I probably wouldn't do them. Do you know what I mean? I'm like. Those motivations are not really about me. They're about what everyone else thinks about me. Do you know what I mean? And it's about me being scared about getting sick when I'm older. So I'm like, I need to enjoy this stuff. Life's too short just to think about the rewards that I'm going to get 20, 30 years time. So anyway, so that was my bit of light bulb moment of going, I kind of hate exercise sometimes. What can I do to enjoy it more often? And there were some people who always hate it. So how do I get those people on board with this with exercise without them thinking it's exercise. Let's just play a few games.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then if they get the byproduct of that is actually, you know what, your resting heart rate's getting lower, and you're losing some body fat there, and you're gaining some lean muscle mass, and your lung function's improving, and do you know what I mean? You're getting stronger, and you can you can pick
Absolutely.
you can pick your wife now in a piggyback carrier and take her. You couldn't lift her up a few months ago. Now look at you now. So anyway, I could talk about that forever, but I think we need to. It's again a bit about this back to basics approach to life again. As hunter gatherers, we had to move in order to survive. We had to go and hunt. We had to go and gather our foods. We had to build shelter. We had to defend our territory. We had to do that. We had to defend ourselves from predators. And in the 21st century, everything is just so soft and cozy at times.
Yeah.
And we're paying the price because of that.
Definitely.
So we've got to create our own artificial, virtual, hunter-gatherer.
Yeah,
environment.
it's scary. It's scary,
yeah.
isn't it? I'm listening to you try and explain what we need to do, and it's like, because I'm actually. Have you ever read a book called *Sapiens*, Daryl?
I haven't. No. Who's that by?
I've just started reading it. It's by a gentleman named Yuval Noah Harari.
Okay.
It's called A Brief History of Humankind, and it's basically hunter-gatherers into agriculture, into history as we know it, and all the way through. I'm only a third of the way through it, but it's one of the best books I've ever read. You would really love it, and it's kind of the deeper I get into it, it explains everything that we've done, as everything that we did do as hunter-gatherers, and everything that we've done, and the fact that it kind of paints agriculture as history's greatest fuck up, really.
Oh, nice.
Because the lifestyle that we used to live as hunter-gatherers, picture this: living with all your friends and your family for the most part of your life, eating fresh fruit and veggies with a very varied diet all day, every day.
Yeah.
We didn't have all the stresses that we have in our life now. Like even dating back recently to before the internet, when you used to send letters. You would send a letter. You would really concentrate on what you would write in that letter, and you'd be very succinct, and it'd be a very warm feeling when you got a letter from someone. And now you get 100 emails per day. But are we doing any more work?
Shit.
Like, is the world any worse off? Like, you'd really just wanted to mention the book *Sapiens*, because everything that you're saying, you'd really enjoy it. But I get to the point now that I look through the world a little bit too much, and I wish I was a little more ignorant to it all. But it's good that there's because it's good that there's people like you that, I mean, you're up against society, but to have the thought in people's minds that what we're doing and the way that we have these sedentary lifestyles and the diet that we eat, it's not good we ended up here, but we ended up here by accident. This isn't how we're supposed to be.
Like fast moving and efficient and getting like a lot of stuff done, but it's like at the detriment to our own mental health.
What are we are we having more love in the day because we have
more money and more problems, yo?
I mean, totally agree. There's I mean, on the one hand, I'm very happy living in the 21st century. I like using my smartphone. I like the ability to communicate in the way that we do. But at the same time, as you say, if I received a handwritten letter from someone now, I mean, oh my goodness, it would really make your day, wouldn't it? Like, it would just be the most wonderful thing to receive. And I suppose it's making me think about, doing the same for others. Like, I'm like, I need to send some handwritten letters as well. And these what appear to be very simple and crude kind of tools for communication are far more rewarding, because you realize the value of somebody actually spending time going, right, you know what, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to pen this letter. If I make a mistake, I can't just erase it like a computer. You know what I mean? It's like, I've really got to think about what I'm going to be writing. And all of life has become that way, where we're just consumed now with technology and being able to do whatever we want when we want to. And, some downtime, I think it should be a real downtime should be valued at this time. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
getting out to nature,
Don't-
spending time with real friends, not just your virtual friends, you know, and your family, people who you really care about, who really care about you, you know.
Yeah.
Getting some really good quality
That's right.
sleep. I mean, it's like, you know, I'm trying to focus so much now on getting good quality sleep. And I recently purchased some really good, because I live in the city, so it's like really noisy. I mean, there's just so much ambient noise at any time of day or night. So I've got these really good earplugs, which are like, I mean, you know, they're from like a Kickstarter fund.
Yep.
And they're like magnificent, like literally drops ambient noise down to, you just can't perceive it at all. And I'm just enjoying the best quality sleep now that I've had for years. Do you know what I mean? Because I was using normal earplugs and they were quite good enough. And then I was like, yeah, let me get some blackout window. I mean, you know, went the whole hog to get better quality sleep. And now just getting that noise down a few more decibels, I'm like, oh, this is what it should really be like. This is peace and
Yeah, that's right.
no,
Definitely.
That's right. Absolutely.
yeah.
All right, cool. Well, Daryl, we might throw to 6 from 6. And have you got time for 3 questions from me, 3 questions from Tommy?
Sounds good. I'm up for that.
Oh, all righty, cool. So my first question, Daryl, is are you a well-travelled man?
Yes.
Okay, that's not the question. That's just
Second one.
So the question is, what's your favourite travel destination on the planet? Can be big town, can be small town, can be a continent, can be anywhere.
Okay, that's really, I mean, that's a really, really difficult question to answer because I have traveled extensively. I've done all 7 continents. I've traveled to about 100,
Nice.
probably about 130, 140 countries now. And so it's
Wow.
really,
That's
I've
amazing.
done quite a bit of travel.
Well done, man.
So I'd probably have to say Antarctica because one, it was very difficult to get there.
That's sick.
And secondly, because there are very few tourists who've been there, very few people who've been there, and the access to, you know, just the purity of that continent, and the fact that ice comes in so many different colors. That's all I can say. You know what I mean? So, you know, I was imagining this kind of blanket of white, and you just see all these really interesting colors, and the wildlife there is very aren't very afraid of humans. So, you know, you get penguins walking up to you and kind of having a good look at you, like, oh, what the hell are you? You know, and waves will come up to the ship to see what's going on. I mean, it was absolutely incredible and beautiful. So I was very privileged to spend time out there. So it would be Antarctica.
Nice one. Geez, that's amazing.
That's
100,
awesome.
130 countries. How have you managed to do that? Like how have you that? I mean, Did you do big backpacking tours when you were young, or like it's just something that you've dedicated yourself to every year, going out and seeing the world, or because that's a huge amount.
It's a huge amount. Yeah, I got into backpacking, mate. Basically, I used to go. Me and the boys used to go to Spain every year. You know, late teens, early 20s.
Nice
2-week holiday. So I suppose it's like the Bali of you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Aussies. So, and then one year we decided to go to the US, you know, to backpack, and pretty much all of my mates backed out at the last minute. And I was left with like, do I go by myself or do I go, you know what, I don't really want to do it anymore. And I decided out of spite, being really stubborn, to just do it by myself. And I did.
Oh mate, Nettie, no mates.
Yeah, it was like that. But I did about 30 states within 30 days.
Wow.
Just like extensive travel, like coast to coast. And then the following year, I was like, you know what, I want to go one better. So I was like, I'm going to do a round the world trip, as many stops as possible. And so that started off my love affair with travel. And I was seeking out, you know, like places that a bit off the beaten track. And so from that point on, I was like, yeah, you know what, I want to spend more time in this country. I want to go even more off the beaten track. And I went to places like, you know, Iran and Libya, like and Mongolia,
Awesome.
You know, years and years ago, where it was really difficult to get into some of those countries at times.
Yeah, for
Not
sure.
the safest environments either. when I think about it now. But that was it. I was like, I want to see the world. I want to experience what real life is about for people. You know.
You want to see all gamuts of mankind, really.
Yes.
Makes you a more well-rounded person. And as fucked up as it sounds, when I've been through South America and Asia a bit and whatever, but when I'd go through places like Bolivia and I'd see some of the sketchier sides of town, and you'd kind of feel alive to be in these places. It sounds it's kind of a bit wrong, but you kind of get a thrill out of being in the more dangerous, wilder parts of the world. But it also opens your eyes to how lucky, obviously, people like us that can travel freely and grew up in the Western world and have everything at our fingertips. It puts it all, just makes you a better, well-rounded person. I think
it does. Yeah. When I tell you what, when you come back from your first travel like that, and you hear people moaning about, their cable TV not working, or something like that.
Milk in the fridge.
And you think to yourself, hold on a second, the cost of that cable, that could be an entire family's budget for their month. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't know how lucky we are, as you say. So you really appreciate life, and sometimes you come back and you get back into the rat race, but you have that period where you go, wow, I'm so fortunate. I'm going to really, my life's going to change now based on that experience. And I suppose for me, I just had to keep going away to make sure I kept grounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
I'll never drink another beer. Beer here, I'll take 10.
That's so good. That's really inspirational. Okay, next one though, Daryl, and this is going to be a hard one for you. Dream destination, somewhere that you haven't been that's top of your bucket list.
It'd probably be North Korea, actually. And I don't really know why.
I think that's to top of many people's bucket list.
Well, my mate's been there, actually.
What's that?
My mate's been there, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went to Pyongyang.
Really?
Yeah. You can do little, not sure that they would want everyone to know, but, you can do, little things where they take you just over on the border, and North Korea is a really funny one, Daryl, from what my mate said, is they take you on, these on these tours. You go in through, the north part of South Korea, and the way my mate described it was it's basically like a tour to show the Western world that North Korea is actually a really lovely place, when clearly it's the whole thing's very staged, and
right.
I mean, for example, there's there'll be little fat kids every now and then, just to show this, we got tons of food, and no one's starving and all this sort of thing.
Really?
It's all really, really staged, and it looks really, looks amazing.
That's a real shame. I think. On the one hand, we all know the reality, and people there don't. It's just all propaganda. And but I suppose it'd be great to, and I don't know if it's going to be possible, but it'd be great to get off the beaten track. And I mean, it would probably be. You'd get yourself into so much trouble, most likely. Do you know what I mean?
Daryl's got that laugh that says he wants that trouble.
Yeah,
Can
that's
you hear
right.
His laugh? He's got that.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit. I call it a little bit of the devil in him.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm probably not going to go to North Korea.
That's good. I like it.
Excellent.
All right. So my last question, Daryl, is: do you have any books that you like to recommend to people? That can be it can be fiction, it can be a novel, it can be a biography. Anything that's struck a chord with you?
It's a book called The Human Zoo by Desmond Morris. It was written in the late 60s, and it kind of talks about the stuff that we were talking about earlier, about this artificial environment that we're in, these kind of concrete jungles that we're in, and why, as humans, being in this zoo, being in this kind of 21st century zoo, why we're suffering from the issues that a lot of animals in captivity are. So mental health issues, being sedentary, not getting enough physical activity, our diets changing to one of zoo-like diets rather than our natural diet, and that's you realize that people have been talking about this issue for many, many decades. That's a very good book, which is very thought-provoking. It's quite heavy at times because I think he was a zoologist, or botanist. He's so some pretty hardcore science in there. but you recognize that this is what's been happening all these years, and why hasn't it been discussed and talked about? So yeah, that would be one I would recommend.
Beautiful. Good stuff. Tommy.
Hey, Daryl, what's some stuff you like to do when you've got some spare time?
Oh, I suppose probably listening to music. I would like, and thinking about creating music again. So if I really had the spare time, I think that's what I would do. I would start, I'd build my studio again and start creating some music. But I'm a big fan of music.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great.
Any specific genres or?
Pretty much everything, to be honest. I mean, I quite like. The only thing I don't like would be heavy metal. That's probably it.
Okay. Yep.
Everything else, as long as there's some good musicianship and some creativity and a decent melody, I'm kind of in. And I would say I probably prefer instrumentals and raw musicianship rather than vocalists, to be honest. So I prefer composition and interesting breaking that down. So yeah, that would probably be my favorite. So there's a whole swathes of different genres and people who are very influential in their field. I would say would be my go-to. Just let the music playlist just go on random, and hopefully there's some gems in there. Do you know what I mean?
Stay there for days, and exactly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All right, cool. Biggest role model growing up? If you had a big role model growing up, or someone you sort of currently look up to?
Biggest role model. So I'd probably say a fictional character would be Superman.
He's a good one.
So I remember watching the first Superman movie in the 70s. And the posters were like, you will believe a man can fly. And I was just mesmerized by Christopher Reeve back then. And the fact that there was this guy who was all powerful, he was just like this all powerful being, but he still had these key weaknesses that meant he was extremely vulnerable. And you realize that there is no such thing as perfect. You know what I mean? There were so many lessons I learned as a young kid watching that, whereby you go, doesn't matter how strong you are, you're always going to have some vulnerabilities. You're always going to have some weaknesses that you have to try to overcome to the greater good. So he would probably be my fictional.
Everyone's got their kryptonite.
Yeah, everyone's got their kryptonite for sure. And somebody who inspired me back then as a kid would probably be Martin Luther King, actually. So cool. I became aware of him again as an adult, as a young child, and the fact that he was battling against all this adversity and was able to have a fairly moral high ground in order to get people who were oppressed into a much better place. And unfortunately, he died assassinated before he saw some of that come to pass. But the world became definitely a better place through the actions of people like him. So yeah, he's somebody that I've admired pretty much throughout my entire life since early childhood.
Yeah, no, he's a great one. He's obviously a very cliche example, but such an inspiration. I think I've got this Google Chrome extension called Newsfeed Eradicator that I actually got from Bill, and you can put like motivational quotes in it just so that it gets rid of the newsfeed, so you don't waste time scrolling down there. And I just put some motivational quotes in there, and one of them is a Martin Luther King one, and it says, "Even if I knew the world was ending tomorrow, I'd still go out and plant my apple tree," which I think is just fantastic, because it's like,
wow,
you should always have something you're working towards, and personal development and all that sort of stuff. And it's just
a really nice one, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah,
good quote.
It's fantastic. Yeah, you didn't tell me that, mate. I'm gonna use it as my own. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Darryl Edwards says a great quote out there.
Yeah.
You just change it to
Darryl Edwards King Jr.
Even if I knew the world was ending, I'd still go out and put a couple of bananas in the backyard. Doesn't have us enough. No, but just a great example of who the man was. Finally, mate, if you could invite 3 people, dead or alive, to dinner, who would they be and why?
Ooh, wow, that's a great question. I'd probably say Martin Luther King.
Yep.
I would probably it would be like a composer, like Bach or something like that. How did you come up with all these ideas for your compositions that are listened to several hundred years on? I mean, how incredible is that? And probably the last person would be Bruce Lee, because
nice one.
He was very philosophical, even though he's known for his fantastic martial arts capability. He was also extremely philosophical and a man of great ideas, and he took on board all of these varied influences and inspired people around the world. So yeah, there you go. And Martin Luther King,
awesome,
Bach or Beethoven, and Bruce Lee.
Cool. You probably wouldn't want to get Beethoven there, would he? He's not much of a talker, old mate. Deaf Beethoven. Wasn't he deaf, or was he blind? Or wouldn't have much to say, the poor bastard.
I need a translator as well. That'd be
yeah.
So yes, but yeah, I think it'd be great as a fellow composer. I would love to kind of brainstorm with him and see what his inspirations were, and what led these people to where they were. Because a lot of people just go, you know what, I've had enough.
That's right.
Life's too difficult. Forget that. But they just
not planting the apple trees.
Going. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, Daryl. That was cool. Hey, anything you'd like to plug? Social medias, things people should know about. Now is your time, my friend. Go for it.
Hey, so firstly, I have a few books that have been published. One called Paleo Fitness, which was my first kind of foray into this, movements that we were designed to do, as well as foods that we were designed to eat. I have a paleo lifestyle guide called Paleo from A to Z, which is like an encyclopedia or dictionary of lifestyle terms and tips and tricks around paleo lifestyle, as well as a 7-day introduction to paleo fitness as well, which is my third book. And in the new year, so primalplay.com is my new website, which has all of the, some games and activities and exercises for Primal Play, but also some really good evidence around the benefits of physical activity in play as well. So many of us just aren't aware of the health benefits that are wide-ranging, everything from a reduction in premature death to, reducing risk of cancers, of all sorts of issues, pre-diabetes and diabetes, for example, as well as all the mental health benefits. And I also, in the new year, will be launching an online course, a 30-day Primal Play program based on building your movement habit. So how you can make movement, this kind of varied, primal, instinctive movement, part of your day-to-day practice. And that's going to be available come the new year. So January 2017.
Cool.
Yes, and awesome. Must forget social media. Yes, if you want to hit me up on social media, which I'm always interested in conversing with people on social media, my tag name is @FitnessExplorer on Twitter and Instagram. And if you search for Fitness Explorer on YouTube or Facebook, or even search for Darryl Edwards on Google, you will easily find access to all the work that I do.
Beautiful, man.
Alrighty. Well, thanks a lot for coming on the show, Daryl. Really appreciate it.
Thanks very much, guys. You've been a pleasure. It's been one of the most fun and interesting podcasts I've been on. So thanks for making it really
awesome, man.
We always get that, don't we?
Yeah, we're pretty big wheels.
We're fucking good. We're fucking good at what we
We'll
do.
have to do a show in person, Daryl. Yeah, you have to come to London and have a sesh.
Yeah, whereabouts in London are you, Daryl?
I'm in a place called Chiswick, which is
okay.
The
west near Ealing.
Okay, cool. Well,
if you've been that part of the world,
we will get out to the UK at one point on a podcast tour, and we'll be sure to hit you up. It'll be good fun.
We'll have a beer and sesh.
And I'm going to be over
maybe play some dick tag
next year as well.
We'll play some Touch the Dick.
Okay, well, perfect. Well,
sorry.
Had to go too far.
Oh, man. I was practicing before, guys. Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right, Daryl. It's been good fun, man.
Cheers. Take care, guys.
Okay, that's a wrap. Alrighty, thanks for listening, guys. If you are a first-time listener, hit the subscribe button, that big, fat, juicy button in the middle of your iTunes. Hit it hard.
Hit it really
hard. Hit it nice and hard.
I want you to hit it.
Yeah, hit that. Hit
that.
again.
Hit that.
But in less creepy ways, it really helps us. Helps us get more downloads, which means it helps us get
more exposure,
more exposure, and more basically more financial viability into the future through sponsorship. So we always want to be,
guys, because we can bring good guests here when we have more money.
We always want. I like the way that you phrase that, mate.
Yeah, straight to the point.
Yeah. No, but
go the Hawks.
We want to be in for this thing for the long run. So subscribe. If you are a long time listener, then please leave us a rating and review. That also helps us climb up the charts. And get behind us, guys. And also, if you want anything from the show notes, so anything that was mentioned in here that you want to check back into, head to www.adventurefittravel.com/radio. It's all in there. Also, don't forget to head to audible.com/ADVF to get your 1 free audiobook and 30 days free. Also, head to carve.ph/ADVF for 10 hours on VA services for free. And also, lastly but not leastly, head to www.adventurefittravel.com and check out what we have going on. If you're somebody that's interested in getting a group together and doing a custom trip and traveling for free, works really good with affiliate owners. But if you just think you've got 50,000 mates and you can make it happen, then email us through the website. Don't forget to use the code RADIO if you want 10% off any and all trips. See you next week.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.